Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Games to the Max. This is episode 422, and I'm your host, Sean Garmer. Here with me, as usual, Mr. Mark Morrison.
Howdy.
And we have plenty to talk about here today as Mark has finished Metaphor ReFantazio. I've played a little bit of the Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered and that Pokemon TCG app. I have to pull myself away so I don't get addicted there. Also, it feels like it's inevitable news that was going to happen, but still sad nonetheless, as Sony has officially pulled the plug completely this time on Concord and subsequently closed Firewalk Studios. So we'll talk about that. Some good news with Xbox and Call of Duty. Nintendo also making up their own music app. There's Spotify, there's other apps, but Nintendo, of course, they got to walk their own kind of deal. And will AA gaming, could that save the industry? We'll get into all that and more right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right, so just to go ahead and get this out of the way here, whether this is your first time watching or listening, or you've watched this many times, we do appreciate you. You can watch the show live, although right now it's a little bit on a weird schedule because I have to go based on when I can do overtime. But either way, you can watch it live, so you should subscribe to the channel, YouTube, or you like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitch. You'll know when we go live. You can watch it there. You can also just subscribe on the YouTube channel, and you can watch later on demand or listen on podcasts as well. Just search Video Games to the Max in your podcast provider, and you can get what we do. And also, if you subscribe on the channel, you get our other shows that are part of W2 Network. So W2 Network on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, all of that, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, we're there and all those places. But if you subscribe on the YouTube channel, you get our other shows, which one of them is an anime show. They talk about things that come out weekly with anime. So they're in that new fall season now. So definitely want to go check them out if you're watching any of those shows. And we also got Entertainment People. Ralitch and Broadcasting did a great job of basically reviewing all the new movies that come out. Well, not all of them, but basically the big new movie that comes out every week. They review that, such as the last one they did was the Venom Last Dance. So if you wanted to know their thoughts on the Venom movie, you could do so and go check them out. And they also do like TV shows and other things as well. So, all right, that's enough for the housekeeping. I guess let's go ahead and, you went to that convention this week, right?
Yep.
How was that?
Pretty good. I paid their like early access fee, so that was good. That was better because like the longer it went, the more filled up it got.
Did you get to meet anyone or have them sign anything?
Yeah, they had 3 guys. They had 4 guys there. A Mortal Kombat artist. I think he did like the logo. They had 2 dudes who were in Mortal Kombat. Like Scorpion. Like I forget the guy, the Pacina brothers, or I think they're brothers. I don't know. And the guy I met was a guy named Tim Kitzrow. He was like the voice of NBA Jam and NFL Blitz. And I guess they actually did a lot of pinball stuff too, which I didn't really know. But I definitely recognize some of the
his voice is definitely I could see that.
Yeah, he does like a very good, like hearing him like normally speak, he's fine, but he does like a very good, like I don't think he's arrogant or anything, but he has like a very good like Zach Brannigan, or that type of like kind of pompous like newscaster type of voice when he wants to, and
Right.
That's pretty good. But he was a nice guy. He signed something for me, or signed a few things. I brought like 2 NBA Jam manuals from him to sign. So
Oh, that's cool.
I got to buy those games, I guess, now. But he was cool. And I actually wrote like a pretty long list of crap I was trying to find. Some of it was like easy. Like I was trying to find a copy of like Kirby's Dream Land 2 for like the Game Boy,
Oh
or
yeah, I remember you saying you had that on your list there.
and what was another easy one? Actually, that was about the only easy one, maybe, or but I found 4 things I was looking for. I found Kirby's Dream Land 2. I finally got a copy of Bebe's Kids for the Super Nintendo, which
Okay.
is objectively one of the worst games ever made. There's like no way you can argue against it. I had
Yeah.
it as a kid. That's why I kind of
Okay.
wanted to. I mean, and I hated it when I was a kid. So
The game
but,
you hated as a kid, you also would have as an
yeah,
adult.
it's like I think it's like unfinishable because it just gets like so fucked hard. Like by like the 3rd stage, it's like this is impossible. Like, but it's been like it's not an expensive game. I got it for like $30, but it's
Okay.
like just one of those really hard to find games, or just like I've been looking for it for years, and this is the first time I saw it. Like, and I only saw it like at the last booth, or the last like table. This guy had it, and I was like, wow, okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy this one because this is the first time I've seen it.
Right.
What was the other 2 things? The other 2 things I found on my list were what was it? I finally found a copy of Strider 2 with both discs, which is cool. And it's a pretty nice copy. It was a little more expensive than I wanted to spend, but it's kind of a rare game. Like that's an expensive and rare game, especially since like most times I see it, it's missing like a disc, which is kind of a problem.
Yeah.
And that game is funny. It's infamously funny because it has a disc for Strider 1 and Strider 2. When they sent it to manufacturer, they fucked up the labeling. So the Strider 2 disc is actually Strider 1, and Strider 1 is actually Strider 2.
Oh,
And it's like,
nice.
whoops.
Okay.
And every game is like that, or every disc is like that. It's like, you idiots. Like,
So if you don't know that, you might get the wrong game.
well, no, because the both discs come in the same thing, but
Okay.
most games or most copies of it for some reason are like missing a disc, and it's like, yo, this came in a 2-disc case, like, and the manual says 2 discs. So what they have.
Right.
The big thing I got on my list was a copy of Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the Sega Saturn. Obviously, the best way to play that game. No, I'm kidding. It's
Yeah.
a like mediocre port, but it is interesting because it has Maria as the 3rd character, and she's playable in another version of the game, but she's different in that one. So that's that's why I kind of got this. It was like $200, or like I think
damn.
I talked to the guy on like 180, I think. The other things I didn't. This wasn't one on my list, but the other things I picked up were I picked up the Castlevania Symphony of the Night strategy guide.
Okay. That's cool to have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like $75. I mean, it's old, but the prices on eBay and Mercari were a lot more. So
Right.
and I picked up the Symphony of the Night soundtrack.
Yeah.
So I picked up 3 Symphony of the Night
Well, I
tracks.
mean, that's a pretty awesome soundtrack. So
Yeah, I'd say it's like one of the 10 best soundtracks to a game ever. So,
all right.
And the other 2 things I picked up were kind of smaller things. I picked up a hidden object game for like $2 called Angelica Weaver Catch Me When You Can. I have it on Steam, but it was like a physical copy, and I have like some fond memories of it. So I'm like, why not? I had like the loose change to pick it up, so I'm like, who cares?
Yeah. Right.
And I picked up a big box copy of Moto Racer 2, an old motorcycle racing game from like 1998, I think. That was like $5. I saw some friends there. The funny thing is it's in this convention center, or like the city convention center, and like in a different part of the building was a big early voting setup.
Yeah.
So that worked out well when people were like in line for the gaming thing, and they're like, "Oh no, voting's over here," you know?
Yeah, it's people going to the wrong one.
Yeah. So this thing said it had pinball, but I think it was in a different room because it wasn't in the main room, and I was kind
Yeah,
of ticked because I was like, "Where the fuck is it?" And then I was there for like 4 hours, and by like the 3.5 hour mark, I was I'm exhausted.
right.
So I just left. But apparently they did have pinball, but it just is in some like separate room that I didn't know about,
Yeah,
which is kind of a shame because I would have liked to have played. Uh, yeah, people had some good stuff. There was some stuff I kind of wanted, but I didn't have the money, or I might have had the money, but I don't want to spend all of it there.
right. Understandable.
Uh, and the big stuff I was looking for, like a Game Boy Light or uh, you know, the limited edition of Shenmue 1, no one had.
Mm.
Uh, what's it? I didn't see any copies of Vagrant Story. Like, that was kind of a rare game. I guess it's getting to be a rare game.
Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, it's not like I don't think that's available digitally.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely right now.
The one game I saw there, which is actually extremely expensive and rare, was a Genesis game called Musha. I have a friend who wants to sell his copy. Probably sell it to me, hopefully for a hopefully cheap price if you're listening, Frank. But I saw like 3 copies there, and I was like shocked
Was
because
it super expensive there? Or?
yeah, well, one copy was $800, one copy was like $750, and I think like one copy was like $450, and I'm like, damn, like that's a low. I mean, the 450 copy was still in a good condition too. I'm like, yeesh, like that's all right. But yeah, I had fun. I had like I was operating on like no sleep because I was really excited the night before.
Yeah.
So I got there like 2 hours of sleep. So by the time I was done, I was like exhausted. And I went to like another game store in the area, looked around for like 10 minutes, and then went back to my car and crashed out for like 2 hours, and then drove back home because I was like, if I try
Wow.
to drive back home now, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, probably a good idea that you slept for a while. I've run
Yeah.
into that before. Also,
Uh, I was looking for a copy of Suikoden 5. 2 people had it. One copy was like 120, which isn't that bad, I guess. But one copy was like 180, and it was 180 because it came with like this weird art of Suikoden 5 like extra disc set that had like a little booklet and like soundtrack. I think that's why it was more. And I was like, that's cool, but like this thing is like $30 by itself. Like it's not 60. So uh I wonder if he sold that one,
yeah, probably not.
Right. But it was good. It got early on. It was extremely nice to walk around, but by the end of it, I could barely walk down the aisle because there's so many people there. But yeah, I got 4 things off my list, so that's 2 more than I thought I would.
Hey, that's always a plus. Now you can just wait till the next thing to see if you can
Right,
find
and
whatever you.
that'll be in March, I think, or I think they do it in March or April. Uh,
Oh,
but yeah, I had fun, and yeah, it's good to like get with a group of like other gaming nerds and to talk because I talked to few people, so that's cool.
yeah,
Uh,
I mean that's always a plus when that can ever happen because it feels like before you could even count going to a GameStop or like retro game store, and sometimes you can't even like count on that anymore. Really.
right, especially GameStop. I went to one. Actually, did go to a GameStop like last weekend just because I was curious, and I was like, "Do you have any retro stuff?" He's like, "No," and
Oh,
I
they're
was
not
like, "Good to
they're
know."
not the retro store.
No, but even the retro store by me is kind of terrible. So,
Yeah, I've
and like the
heard
retro store,
not
the
good
retro
things
store,
though.
yeah, the retro store by me wouldn't have like Vagrant Story or the Shimigami Tensei or Shimigami Devil Summoner Collector's Edition for sale. So,
Yeah.
good luck with that. But
All right.
yep, I had fun. And if there's a retro convention by you should go to see it sometime.
Yeah, definitely. I think anybody that has an interest in the retro gaming or definitely go to a convention
Yeah.
and like see what they got there. See if you find one of those hidden gems. You've been looking for.
Right. Yeah,
All
I was
right.
definitely surprised that I found a
Mhm.
copy of Dracula or Symphony of the Night for the Saturn.
What, that's become like really rare recently, or
It's about $200.
Mm.
I mean, it's not like the rarest game, but
right?
people want it because people like Symphony of the Night. And I added up last night. I own 5 copies of that goddamn game now, like
Wow.
for physical releases, and I'm missing like one. Like there's like an Xbox 360 version
Yeah.
they actually put on a disc in like some collection, but I don't own that one yet, but I will.
Yeah. All right. Well, how it goes? You've officially finished Metaphor ReFantazio now.
Yep, I beat it last week. It's a long ass game. You thought it'd be shorter, but it's not really because you do have to grind quite a bit near the
Yeah,
end.
I told you don't be thinking it's gonna be short. What was your final tally?
It's probably about 80 hours.
All right, yeah, that's around the hour mark that
It,
I've seen
maybe
most people
85. Yeah.
say. Yeah,
So I didn't get all the bonds. I missed like one by like one step. Because I don't think I triggered her correctly. It was Katarina or Katharina. I missed it by like one. If I had like one extra day, I probably could have done it. But like, god damn it.
yeah,
Uh, I missed all of the or most of the debate stuff. So I'm not playing it again. And I'm this time I'm just following the 100% guide, and it's making it a lot easier now because I have all the social stats maxed out. So when the guy says like, "Oh, go read the book to boost your wisdom," I'm like, "Yo, dog, I don't need to anymore." Like,
yeah,
I can just do whatever go vacuum and get more HP.
right,
The one thing that tripped me up pretty bad was about 3/4 of the game, you unlock like the prince archetype. That's like the royal archetype for the main character.
right.
Uh, and I guess I missed it, but maybe the game said like, "Hey, your other characters have royal archetypes as well," and I just didn't see that. So when I got to like the last stage or like the last big dungeon, I was like, okay, I don't really need like a blow by blow of the main boss, like the final boss. But what are the archetypes like guides are suggesting? And it was like, okay, for the Lewis boss fight, have the main character be the prince, have Hulkenberg be the royal knight, have Heismay be like the royal thief. And I was like, what's this royal shit? Like,
Yeah,
and I'm looking at like Hulkenberg's like archetype map, and I'm like, where is this? And where the prince archetype is in the map, that's like where the royal knight is for her. And I was like, god damn it! Like I've been grinding for like 5 hours before this, like and like filling up like archetypes on these like other characters that like they don't need or it's not like Heisman needs like the faker archetype or bullshit like that.
right.
And for most of these, I could have just unlocked it from the get go, but I
Oh
just didn't
man,
know.
that sucks.
So like by like the last save point, it's like I had like enough XP experience archetype stuff to like max out Hulkenberg's like Royal Knight one, and I think I unlocked Heismay's like Royal Thief one, but that was it. Like there's like a Royal Healer one which I didn't hit at all, and a lot of them require like, oh, to unlock the Royal Thief you need to have like the Tycoon job to like level 10 and like the
Yeah,
Dark Thief to like level 20. It's like, well, for like the Royal Healer, she had one like her advanced one was like she needed the wizard archetype to be like level 10, and I'm like, she is like 2 jobs below that. Like she's just barely hit the mage one. So to unlock mage, I have to unlock mage, then wizard, then like one more and hit that have level 10. So that ain't gonna happen.
yeah. You're
uh
like, I'm not doing all that.
and I still hate that like that MP stuff in that game is just so limited. Like at the last stage, it's just like if like the gunner guy, I forget his name, the guy who runs your ship was like, oh hey, this is the last dungeon. So if you come back to like the starting area, I can heal your party and give you full MP and HP. That would have been awesome. Because I could have ground in that last dungeon for 10 hours and unlocked all that crap. But it's like,
Yeah.
no, you're screwed. Like, run to the do these like last 6 boss fights, which are also like pretty hard to get all the cool weapons, and then run to the boss, and that's it. It's like, great. When I hit the boss, I have like 1 MP thing left because I burned it all on these other stupid bosses.
And there's no, so it's like a total boss rush at the end. It's not a.
No, you can't explore. You can you can ignore all the other bosses, but all the other bosses
Okay.
give you like the best tier weapons in the game.
Oh, all right, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
And there actually is a trophy where it's like, oh, if you just ignore all the bosses and run to the last guy, Lewis, then you get your trophy. But it's like, well, and it also makes them like way
Basically, you make
harder.
it harder for yourself. You get a trophy. Okay.
Yeah, but I'll
Makes
do it
sense.
on this one because I have all the experience. Well, they reset your level, but not the archetype level. So once you unlock the archetypes, then they're already maxed out or whatever they were from the last fight
That's
or
good.
like
That
the
way
last
it
round.
feels like
Yeah,
you have to do stuff again and not
right,
uh like, oh, I'm just at max everything killing these like level 3 goblins that I have to go through or
right. But
you know.
because you do carry over your weapons, so I already have like the best weapons. So some of those fights are a lot more fun when you can like one shot a boss, or like
Yeah.
instead of this boss taking 10 rounds, it took 3. So I'm like,
Yeah, it's a lot better.
all right, cool.
Don't have to have like an hour boss fight for that.
Yeah. But yeah, now I'm just following the guide, and it's kind of more fun actually because I'm not as concerned about what I need to do or having to make money or grind this stuff out. But
Oh, okay.
I enjoy the game. I don't think it's their best work though. It's
Yeah,
up
that's what I was
there,
gonna ask
but
you was where is this on your, we're getting to that time. We've got only a couple months left, or basically like a month left. Where is this on your game of the year
it would
list?
probably be in my top 10. But it'll probably be like kind of maybe like around like number 5 or so, or it ain't gonna be number 1. I can tell you that, or even like 2 or 3.
So
So
like the story didn't do much for you? Or-
no, I
That's what
liked
I
it.
keep hearing is everybody's saying the story's
I don't want to
great.
spoil it because there are some pretty good story twists like near the end. Uh,
Mhm.
I think the lack of romance is actually kind of a problem because it's harder to connect. I mean, for good or for bad, it's harder to connect with some of the characters. And like one character does kind of come off as like a romantic interest, but it doesn't actually happen.
Right.
Uh,
Makes sense.
so I think it's like Heisme is like a really good character. He's like the little bat creature character. He's cool, but some of the other ones are a little more, especially like the later ones are a little more not written that well, or not as fleshed out.
It's kind of the same thing that happens with later ones in Persona 5, right?
Yeah, like
They don't get a lot of time to shine.
Haru barely got. Yeah,
Yeah.
same thing happens in this game, but because there's like a lot less time in this game that
Right.
it gets more and more compressed.
Well, you weren't following the calendar
Right.
for the first one. Did you feel like you needed it?
Yeah, no, like I'm still a little salty. I missed like that one Bond day or whatever, but there's stuff in the game that like they could have explained it better, or they could like the whole debate system. Like it would have been nice if they pointed this out a little better, or had me do one at the start and then say, "Hey, there are more of these at specific dates. So look at the calendar, dumbass." And then, yeah, they have a calendar, but it's pretty useless.
Right.
Because all
Because they
basically
give
does
you a
is
lot of time, right, to complete the stuff or
well, it just basically tells you like when the deadline is for whatever story beat is going to happen. That's about it. It's not like, oh, these 4 characters you can interact with one of these 4 characters per day. you know.
Right.
There is like another menu that tells you that pretty explicitly, but that's not everything you can do in the game. But yeah, I'm having fun.
That's the important part.
Yep. I did try Prince of Persia, the Rogue Kingdom or Crown or whatever
The
it's called.
Lost Crown.
Yeah, I don't think I like that game.
You don't? I'm surprised.
I think I don't like it because I don't like the combat. Like it's kind of too tough, or maybe I'm just bad at it. But like the whole like countering thing, I'm like not great
Yeah,
at.
it does take some getting used to. It's not. I think I got killed by that first boss a couple of times, and then I eventually like got it.
Yeah,
but it takes a bit to do the countering and the. It's a lot easier on the regular enemies, but then when you get to the boss, it's like they ramp it up, and
right.
it's like, oh, okay.
I faced one boss kind of, and that was actually fairly easy. I thought it was just this like big dude swinging around a column.
Yeah.
He was like pretty telegraphed. That's why I thought it was easy. But I'm like, I think it's kind of more challenging against like the regular enemies because you don't have a ton of health in the game, and you don't get a lot of health back. Or you get like the 2 potions, but that's about it. So it's like, all right, if I lose 3/4 of my health on one boss or one enemy, that's not great. But yeah, I don't know if I'll go back to it. I mean, I could bump it down to easy, I guess, but it's kind of admitting that I'm a loser, so I don't want to quite do that yet. But yeah, I just don't like the combat, or it's just not clicking with me personally.
But do you like the rest of the game, like the getting?
I'm still like the tutorial area, or
okay, you're still in that area. Okay,
where the demo, was, and I thought the demo was better. I don't know. I mean, it's the same thing, but I think the demo kind of accelerated the.
Well, like you start at a part that's before the demo, and then you get to the part where the demo is, and then when you like before you get to the like where the second world is, the demo ends. So
yeah, I the demo actually, I was in the area with the demo, but they give you that bow already, or that was pretty quick, and now I don't have that at all, and I miss it. So I think the demo explicitly said like, hey, this is a little more accelerated than the main game,
right?
To show you more of the combat. So that's not fun. I don't know. I may go back to it, but I may not.
Yeah, there's still some things coming out still, so I don't blame you if you don't. Anything else?
No, you.
Well, I did since I got it for that $10 upgrade. I said, why the hell not? Got that Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered.
I may grab that. I'm not quite sure.
Unlike you, who you reviewed the first game, right? Or both of them?
Yeah.
Or okay. I played like that first tutorial area when you're still young Aloy. Right. And I remember dropping it really fast. I don't remember exactly why. Probably because something else came out that I was a lot more interested in at the time, and then I just never went back to it. So I was like, there's probably other things I need to be playing, but I'm gonna give it a like fair shake. And then it kind of got me I got all the way to the part where it's still early, obviously, but I got to the part where she does the proving thing, and she's you finally get the like crux of the story part, and then it kind of sets you off on, all right, you're out of the first area now, you got to go do this. But yeah, man, I like the kind of simple gameplay of just, all right, collect things. I love the way that the bow feels when you like pull it back and it slows down and shoot the machines, and that feels fun. They did that really well in Astrobot, by the way, too, because it feels pretty much like the same way. And then just I like just doing the upgrades and finding different things. So I went back, man. I got lost for like I think an hour and a half I went back to the ruins because I had seen where you could get like one of those like artifact thing, the power cells.
Yeah.
So I went back looking for it. I find it, and then I get completely lost trying to figure out how to get back to where you can get out of it. And I eventually had to go like I had to go do a where it like make it do a quest so it does the tracker, and the tracker still kind of confusing because the numbers keep going up and down until I found a part where like, oh, there's light, let me just jump, and then she jumps out of the it's like, holy crap, I could have figured this out like in 20 minutes, and I'm here for an hour and a half wasting time rolling around in this thing.
Yeah.
But no, it looks great on the remaster part. You could definitely tell how much it looks better. You could tell Aloy looks a bit different, more like the Forbidden West Aloy,
Right.
and things just look brighter, look awesome. It sounds better, so you could tell that the remastered work, they did a really good job on that, and it looks great on a 4K TV. So if you have that $10 upgrade, and maybe you're like me, you got it for free. I got it for free. I got that complete edition for free when it was they were giving it away during the pandemic.
I think that's how I got it too, because I did review that game, but I have the complete edition now for some reason. So
yeah, and that one gives you an extra tier on the upgrades that you can get as well, the Frozen Wilds or whatever expansion. So yeah, I'll probably add that to the list of things to just, I guess, keep plugging away at some point.
Well, it's a good game that kind of you can just put on. Like, it's not like that involved necessarily. So
yeah, exactly. Especially there's a lot of open world stuff where you're just that part is very story heavy, but I know you get to like side quests as you go on. So yeah, you can just like put on a podcast and just kind of
it's
chill.
funny. I actually did listen to Jeff Gerstmann's podcast from like a week or two ago when this thing came out, and he made the point that I kind of agree with, that like he likes the first Horizon more than the second one.
Interesting. Yeah, a lot of people liked Forbidden West,
and like he didn't even finish Forbidden West. I mean, I finished it, but he didn't like all like the stupid clone bullshit. And I don't like Forbidden West because like they reduced the game. Like, it's the same problem I have with Amazing Spider-Man 2. Is like they reduced the combat options, and they kind of made it like a more simple game. And it's like, no, you should have made this more complex. Or I mean, you went the opposite way.
I like that. Like when you fight the first boss, you can use the tripcaster if you want, or you can just go around shooting there.
Yeah, in the first game, you can set up. There's no limit on the tripcaster bolts or whatever. You can just set up 20 of them if you want to do. Like, who cares? Yeah, in the second game, you can only set up like 3. And if you set up a fourth one, like the first one goes away. And I'm like,
oh, I guess because people were abusing it too much.
Yeah,
because they basically, they even explain it to you, like, oh, you could set it up like one after the other to where you could basically just constantly make him run into it, and the enemy never touches you.
Here's the thing: who cares?
Right? Yeah.
Like, I want to.
The fun part of it, you can do that if you want.
And the second game, they don't have that, so I'm all right. This is not as fun.
But yeah, I definitely kind of get the people that like it. I can kind of understand.
Sure.
I guess maybe Forbidden West, they made the handholds a lot more telegraphed, because there's parts of one where I'm just kind of like, where am I supposed to go here?
Right.
So, but yeah, that's the kind of the main game I've been playing, and then today during my break, and then also at times here and there if it got slow, I tried out that Pokemon TCG Pocket.
Yeah.
And it definitely has the microtransaction. It's not hiding that at all. It is definitely there to try to get you to buy more card packs. They give you a lot of card packs at the beginning to kind of get you to, be cool with that and want more.
First taste is free.
It's No, to me, like, I just got into the part where, because you have to like get to like level 3 where it starts doing the battle tutorial, and then you can do battles if you want. And
Yeah.
they have like a whole AI, not like a story, but like a whole challenge thing that you can do if you want. You don't have to battle against other people if you don't want to. But they do it does have like a big collection aspect. So it does make you want to go do that, go collect the cards, the different cards, and it kind of tells you every time you get a new one, and it puts it in the slot for you like a Pokedex. And so I can kind of get why it's addicting for people. But honestly, and they give you a new card pack every like 12 hours right now. They might extend that at some point or lessen it. I don't know what they'll do with that. So honestly, I would tell people, don't waste money. Honestly, don't waste money on this. If you're sitting there blowing money, which obviously Nintendo wants you to do, this thing's already made like a ton. And this is them only being able to track iOS numbers. I can't imagine what it's doing on Android. But according to mobilegamer.biz, since the game released, it's made around $3 million per day on its debut weekend and 12.1 million in its first 4 days. Earning more revenue than Pokemon Go, which is a huge testament to that game. And obviously, Japan accounts for like 4% of the total number of game downloads and about 45% of the game's earnings. You know, Japan loves their mobile games, stuff like that. But I think what they're showing is like 10.5 on it. The million is on iOS and then 1.6 on Android. But still, I'd tell you right now, don't waste money on that. Try to do it by waiting for the 12 hours or doing some of the quests that it has you do. And at first, you're getting a lot of packs, and I don't know if they change the packs eventually. There's only like 3 of them, 3 different packs that you get, and it does show you like a little preview of the cards that you can possibly get in those out of the 3. And then I enjoy battling with that. It doesn't have like it's very simple like TCG battling thing as compared to like say Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic or some of the other ones. So
Right.
it's something easy for the kids to pick up and play too. But if you're a parent, this is one that I definitely make sure you have your password protect on for the purchases, because I
Yeah.
could see the kiddos wanting to go crazy about. But I need the Squirtle that's shiny, or I need the Charizard that looks cool, like and they keep buying like 5 packs constantly. So, but it's cool. Good to see that it's working for Nintendo, and it was worth the investment for them to bring that out.
Speaking of Pokemon, have you seen any of the where do you typically go grocery shopping?
I go grocery shopping either at Walmart, but I go to like the green Walmart. I try not to go to the big Walmart because it gets
Okay, well,
packed. Yeah.
Walmart doesn't have them, but at the Kroger's I occasionally go to, they have the
Mhm.
Pokemon vending card machine.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like the first time I went there, it wasn't working, but now it was. I mean, it looks cool. It's for something I don't care about, but I'm like, yeah,
Right.
I could see a kid being into this, or like bugging their parents for
Oh yeah.
$3 or whatever.
I see them there at when I do go to Walmart. They're there in the aisle when you check out and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it's like an actual like machine,
Right.
but
That's cool.
yeah,
Um,
because I guess the reason they're doing this is like, yeah, stores were getting fed up with like having to care about this crap,
well, I mean, and
and they were
also
like,
makes it a lot easier for the scalpers to come in and take the stuff, right? It's a lot
right,
harder if you have to buy like random packs like that. So, but
yeah.
yeah, that's kind of it for me as far as what I've been playing. So I guess let's go on. There's one game I can't talk about that literally the code just came in today. So in a few weeks, I guess we'll get to it. But yes, let's get on with the news, which I guess let's really quick just to get this out of the way because it doesn't take that long to get through. PlayStation Plus stuff for this month, which by the time you're listening to this or watching it, if you're watching it past the 5th of November, you can pick up the games for November, which one of them is Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged, which, if I remember right, people still liked one a little bit more than this, but hey, you can get it for free, so why not if you subscribe to Plus? Ghostwire
Right.
Tokyo, which is obviously, used to be PS exclusive. It's on Game Pass now because the
I own it.
it's there. And then they have a new game that releasing day one, Death Note Killer Within, which is like an online social deduction game where it looks really kind of simple. It was made for the multiplayer. This is not, I wouldn't, I think it's something cool to check out if you're a fan of Death Note, which I am,
Right.
but I'm not going to check this out. You get to either be Team L or Team Kira and do one or the other, either figure out who the killer is or figure out the person that needs to be killed or whatever. It's a pretty simple concept. We'll see if it does anything for Bandai Namco as far as like social interaction and whatnot, but I could kind of see this just kind of hitting and then not going very far, but we'll see.
I mean, yeah, it'll be some. I mean, it probably costs them like $20 to make, so who cares if it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you just sell 1 billion copies, and so yeah.
But the big story here for Sony this week is we talked about this. I feel like it's not that long ago that they shut down Concord. And then there was an idea that they were possibly going to bring it back to be free to play. There was some like updates that were being kind of backloaded into the game while it was still shut down. And then the announcement came that I think either you or I or both of us, I can't remember. I meant to go back and listen to the episode, and then I didn't get to while I was working. That I can't remember which one of us said it, but that they wouldn't bring it back at all. And it's not a prediction.
That's probably me because I'm more than
Yeah.
I'm the negative one.
But I think I remember feeling the same thing, that there was just there's a situation. This game was just too polluted. It was too it was so negative, the vibe, that there's
Right.
no way you could bring this back. And I think Sony finally kind of looked at it, maybe pulled a Warner Brothers Discovery and said, you know what, maybe we might as well just take the loss on this, get a write-off and get 75 million back or something out of this, which is way, way, way less than what they paid for it. But still, the point is, Sony wanted this to be gone from existence, and this is basically a way for them to completely finish this off. It's not coming back. They refunded everybody already. When they were issuing refunds to people even who bought it physical, I think that was kind of the telltale sign that for sure this thing is not happening.
Yeah, that's
And
a
then
wrap.
what sucks is that they're also now closing down the studio as well. So Firewalk Studios is closed. Right now, they are going to try to put in as many of the developers as they possibly can into other studios at Sony, or other PlayStation studios, but there's no like indicative number. So it could be I think, and also they shut down the Neon Koi, one of their mobile studios, which they had bought not too long ago. They were supposed to be working on a shooter, and then that somehow got canned when they let go of the person that they hired to head their mobile studios. And then they were working on another game, but Herman Hulst says is an adventure game, but they don't name the game or anything like that. So it's just kind of nebulous as far as what that was concerned. But they closed down both of those studios. I think in total it's 210 employees, and we don't know how many of those 210 employees are going to still be working at Sony after they get done doing all of the stuff that they're going to do. Herman Hulse, kind of made a statement saying that, oh, there were some things about Concord that worked, but a lot of it didn't hit, with the audience, and they didn't hit their targets with what they wanted. So
Bit of an
yeah.
understatement.
And then, I mean, obviously when you invest 200 million, and then also you bought the studio, you're paying salaries of all these workers, and all the extra investment they had to do to get the game where it was, which is where Colin Moriarty came out with that 400 million number from the dev that he talked to. So I think that kind of vindicates him a little bit, because there was a lot of journalists that were upset at the fact that he kind of just threw, if they were saying that he basically just like threw the number out there, and it's like, he was talking to a source, and then you kind of look at it and it's like, I think Sony knew they also had to like get a lot of that back as well. And then I think if you look at a bigger picture, this kind of puts Bungie in a bad spot as well, because if Marathon doesn't hit, where does that go for them? Like,
I can almost guarantee Marathon's not going to hit correctly, because I think they talked about it today or a few days ago that it's going to be some extraction shooter, but
yeah,
some action oriented extraction shooter. It's like, that's not exactly what people want. I think people
it's
might
also a
want.
very crowded market, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Itself, and then also it's like, okay, you might get a little bit of help the fact that this is multi-platform, but are you really going to get that much? And then it's like every time they talk about the game, it's not great news either, right? It's a lot of negative. Oh, it's not ready to show. We've made progress, but and it's like it feels like everything that comes out of Bungie is not positive. They announced that they had to lower the amount of updates they're going to do for Destiny. They're going to do like smaller updates instead of
Right.
the one big expansion or whatever not too long ago that we talked about too. And it kind of feels like this is that. How much of this is the old regime, right, of Jim Ryan, and how much of this are we going to put on the current regime that kind of decided to keep this going, right? They decided to keep investing in Firewalk and bring it out the way it was, even though there was early beta tests and other things that were telling you they didn't. It was a good game in essence, but there was a lot of things that weren't jiving even back then. And then when the game comes out, it's just hits a lot of different points. Aside from the grifters, I'm not even talking about them.
Right.
There's just regular people that had issues with the game that are not trying to, start a stupid story about DEI and all that crap. So what do you think this means for like Sony's whole live service stuff? Do you think that this really gets them to have to rethink that and go, what do we do with the rest of these games?
I think most of the live service stuff is not gonna come out. I think that Horizon thing might come out. And Marathon will come out, but I don't think it's gonna be like their traditional like live service game. And Herman Hulse saying like, "Oh, this live service game Concord didn't hit correctly." It's like, that wasn't what Concord was supposed to be. Like, it didn't have a battle pass. It wasn't like it wasn't like free to play, or like.
Yeah,
This isn't.
they heard it from the beginning with that $40 price point too. Like,
Yeah.
let's
I
be
don't
real
think
about that.
even if the game was like free to play necessarily, it might not have hit correctly, but more people probably would have played it. But I think I actually do think the art style and a lot of the messaging in that game did hurt it.
Mhm.
So that is kind of on them, you know?
Yeah, I definitely think. Obviously, look, this live service push was started by Jim Ryan, right? So it again leads to that whole thought of, did he leave, or did Sony kind of tell him, "Yo, man, I think that's kind of, we're getting to the end here. You're starting to spend a lot. We're not seeing a lot of return." And then they kind of look at the big spend and they look at where those games are at and they go, "Oh, this might be a mistake." And when they're starting to find the person that they're gonna blame, they go, "Ah, man, you know what, Jim Ryan, we're not gonna renew your contract,"
Right.
and all that stuff. It's just like, it feels very eerie that he left all of a sudden, and then all these things start kind of going in a domino down. Factions is canceled. You get the stuff with Concord. Destiny's not doing well. Did you buy Destiny? Did you buy Bungie and then not realize the mess that they're in? It feels like a lot of bad decisions, right?
Yeah.
As Dragon Hero 00 put it, they never should have tried to make that game. Yeah, I don't know who looked at that and said that this was going to be the next Star Wars or the next big thing. They were completely wrong about that, obviously. Um,
I think that
yeah,
no, here's the thing. I think they're completely right. It's just it's the next current Star Wars thing as opposed to the good Star Wars things. Look at look
I
look look
yeah,
look at what a big success Acolyte is. It's like, yep, it's the next Star
yeah.
Wars thing.
I feel like Acolyte had more fans than this game did, though. It's like, I'm so surprised there's people that went out there and got the platinum and did all that stuff.
Oh, like
Again, they made a good game, but it's just like there's a lot of stuff around that just didn't work, right? And unfortunately for the people that are working there, which this is the bigger point, it sucks for all the devs that may lose their jobs, may have to go find work outside of Sony now. Whenever this, I'm sure we'll get the news on how many people are being retained and all that stuff. That sucks. I hate to see that for them. The Neon Koi thing is weird also because it's like we never even got to know what they were working on. And then, was this also started by Jim Ryan as well? This, let's get into mobile. And then it seems like they're a bit more less gun shy about that. Herman Holtz says that they know that they have to get into mobile, but it needs to live up to the quality of PlayStation, right? Which, okay, that's nice of you to say, but can you actually do that? And it's like, maybe you had the right idea with Bungie, right? Get somebody that's used to doing live service to do the live service game that already exists, and they make you a live service game that's starting fresh with you in Marathon, even though Marathon used to exist previously on PC and whatever. But they didn't do the same with mobile. And I feel like that's where obviously Microsoft got the biggest fish in the pond with King. I mean, you can't really go any bigger than that. But even Sega went and got Rovio. And it's like, obviously now you can't go just buy a company because you've made all these other mistakes. But it's like, it's weird that Sony didn't go and try to buy a more known mobile game developer that already had something that they could kind of count on for revenue and say, okay, well, now work on this for us,
right.
or like a Horizon mobile game, or I don't know, put Last of Us Factions on mobile, or do you think that they have a franchise that would be good for that arena? Or because like a lot of their stuff's like narrative based, so
Tearaway.
yeah. I mean, like, could you have done something with like that Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer and kind of transferred that over to mobile as well? Possibly. People like that thing. I feel like you got to start with something that I guess you could say it's kind of like what they're doing with the Destiny mobile game, even though that's being developed by NetEase and it's kind of different. Then it's not really going into Destiny 2 per se, but like start somewhere there, something that's being made with mobile in mind and is also going to be on console to get them to play together instead of saying, okay, here's this mobile game that we're making. I hope you play it. Because right now I don't know, that none of that feels good. Maybe Destiny will work because NetEase knows what they're doing with mobile, but I don't know. The rest of the stuff is just like, even when Nintendo was making it, right? They have games that work with mobile, right? Like Mario Kart
I
for
think the
all the
thing, like,
yeah.
if they made like a Wipeout iOS game, that'd be kind of cool to me. Or I'm
No, they did do
interested.
that, right? But it didn't do that well because it's like
Okay,
we did
if they made a
yeah.
good Wipeout,
Yeah,
I think the problem is a lot of Sony stuff is console sized and focused,
right.
so they can't just make a Spider-Man iOS game. It's like, okay, it's going to be so dumbed down to not even like resemble Amazing Spider-Man. So what's the
Right.
point? Oh, a Spider-Man endless runner or endless swinger. That'd be kind of funny, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that Disney would go for that either because it's like they want a return on the investment on
right.
that. But it's like, how do you turn Last of Us or Horizon or insert say Ghost of Tsushima, whatever, into a mobile game?
Yeah, I
Do
mean
you
that
do
was
like a spin-off that's only mobile and then get them to play that
that was the
way?
problem that Sony had when they had the Vita. Remember that Uncharted game that no one
Yeah.
liked? They're like, oh, it's like the console experience of Uncharted, but in your hand. It's like, well, no, because this is bad, and like mobile gamers want different stuff out of. They don't want just the console experience in your hand.
And they also don't want to pay $20-$30 to have that
Yeah,
experience either.
that's what
Right.
that iOS Resident Evil stuff is bearing out quite nicely. Like, no one's
Yeah,
buying that because
it's
you guys are crazy.
literally gotcha, free to play, something that costs very little to get into, and then you keep playing after that. It's like even Nintendo had to realize that themselves when they did it. They wanted to charge you a decent amount for the game, and then gamers were like, mobile gamers were like, I don't want that, and they had
Yeah.
to make it free to play, and now they're making, I think, what the was it Pocket Camp
Well, they're
for
re-releasing
mobile?
Pocket
Yeah,
Camp without any of the crap in it.
yeah.
It's good on
So
them. Like, if I was going to play that, I'd rather play that one.
right. For me, this is just it's kind of like that culmination of where the industry is of going for that live service game, it not hitting, doing it in a very crowded space, and we still have Marvel Rivals that hasn't fully come out yet. That's going to be very interesting to see if that hits the zeitgeist or that thing dies as well, because just because you have the Marvel IP, which is not in a great place right now,
Right.
doesn't mean that it's going to hit. And if that fails, that's another one that's like, are we getting to the point where it's like there's just no way you can the what happened with Helldivers 2 was very special, and the chance of accomplishing
Yeah.
that again is
That is the
yeah,
exception, not the norm. And
exactly. It's we hadn't had a game that's very much like Helldivers 2 is in a long time. So it hit a certain area of live service sort of multiplayer push, whereas the other ones are kind of going into genres that are already full. You're going to do
yeah,
another extraction shooter. I can't imagine, even with the pedigree of Bungie, Marathon's going to do that well, right? Let's say Marvel Rivals kind of doesn't hit what they wanted to do. That's another section of gaming in live service that's full. Like you're trying to get people that already play these live service games off of that game to play your new game, and most of them still don't want to do that. Right?
yeah.
It's crazy to think about that people are still playing Fortnite and PUBG and all that all these years later, but they're doing it. Right? So Especially if you're going to pull a $40 price tag, your game better be awesome because they're used to not paying anything. That's not easy to get somebody to go, I want to pay $40. I think Helldivers hit because it hit with a PlayStation audience. Yes, it was big on PC. No doubt on that. It hit a huge audience for PC. But I think it's the kind of game that gels with PC very well, whereas, it's just not a thing for Concord and all that didn't work on that.
I mean, here's the thing. Helldivers too, like it's not a unique package necessarily, but it's fun and it does have some creative stuff going on with it. Like it's not wholly unique, it's just a third person shooter. But like all the call and command stuff and like the frenetic nature of the multiplayer, that's what makes it's like the creative part.
Yeah.
And them go over that Marvel thing going, it's Overwatch but with Marvel crap. It's like, yeah, okay. Like, sure, I guess.
Yeah, and so the CWA, which is a union, also had an issue on the the employee side of things, right, that we talked about. That due to them not having collective bargaining or anything like that, they had no say in how the workers jobs are going to be impacted, and they put out a pretty like kind of nasty statement saying that Sony's decision to dissolve studios outside their walled garden of PlayStation exclusive content rather than making games that have to compete in the highly diverse and competitive mobile game market should be a cautionary warning sign of Sony's interest in furthering their monopoly position in the video game industry. That basically Sony is anti-competitive, and they hope that the regulators look at this or whatever. I don't think they will, but
I don't see how they're like a monopoly either. Or it's not like Concord was.
They're not a monopoly because Nintendo's basically right there. It doesn't matter whether you want to include Nintendo in the conversation or not. Right. If you're going to compare them only to Xbox, then yes, right?
Right.
But PC is part of gaming, and that's why they're trying to get into PC. And Nintendo is part of gaming, and Nintendo is technically like number one by itself over there, just selling Switches like nobody's business and still selling them. So, I think that statement by the CWA is kind of like, okay, cool. I'm glad you're defending the employees or whatever, which obviously they need to be defended. It's not their fault, right? The other people are just working on the game. They're not Herman Hulst. They're not Jim Ryan. They're not the other heads at Sony making the decisions. They're just out there doing their job. Yeah. And then the people that make the creative decisions that decide, okay, these are the characters we want in this game. This is the kind of narrative we're going to make it a narrative focused kind of thing. And whatever, all those decisions that ultimately impacted why the game failed doesn't really have to do with the devs. So I understand that why the CVA is defending them and all that stuff, but this is a bigger issue industry wide. And I think just to kind of bring this in as well, Sean Layden, once again, it feels like we've talked about him bringing in a piece of information that kind of brings out about the industry itself. Also should note, I forgot to note that Wolverine might possibly be in trouble as well, just to kind of add to this thing with Sony. The game designer Brian Horton, who actually worked on worked with Insomniac previously, when he worked with them on the Xbox side to do why can't I think of that game right now?
Sunset Overdrive.
Sunset Overdrive. Yep. And then he went over with when they were bought, when Insomniac was bought by Sony, he went over, he did Miles Morales. And then after working previously on Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
And then he's the one that's kind of the creative lead on Wolverine. And then kind of randomly, thanks to GameFile, it's been reported that he left, but then he went over to Xbox, a Perfect Dark,
Yep.
which is weird because it's like Insomniac's doing. That's one of the few studios that Sony has that every time they make a game, it's automatic. Like it's going to be great, and then to go over to like a studio where we have no idea what's going on there, that's kind of
I
weird.
don't know. And Insomniac has had one or two misses.
Yeah. But for the most part, they don't.
Right. What's funny is I'm friends with that dude on Facebook.
Oh, you are?
I don't talk to him or anything. I mean, I think I just added him or, but yeah. Believe me,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna just message him and go, hey, what's going on?
No. I mean, I don't think he's gonna tell you either.
Yeah, that either get me an instant block or an instant screw you.
I mean, I think I'm just adding this on to the
right,
just because it is another kind of negative
thing.
thing.
I thought it was interesting,
yeah,
just because it kind of came out of nowhere, or it just like
exactly. Right. And then you get the Ratchet and Clank leads, kind of now they're the ones in charge of it. Just it is true. We really haven't heard much on it. And then of course they had the negative with the terrible leak and everything, and people were playing unauthorized like early version of the game and stuff like that too, which probably set them back a ton because they might have had to like delete all those assets and start all over again and everything else, which again, that absolutely sucks. Like let's be fair about that. That shouldn't have happened. But yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a situation like just of that's a lot of where their next kind of push was going. And then you still got Fair Games out there. What's that going to happen? What's going to happen with Haven with that? Are they going to, how long of a leash is Sony going to give them when that game comes out? Right. If it ever does. I wonder if that's causing Sony to have to kind of look at things and go, I don't know. Are we willing to put a big bet out there on this?
Yeah.
I feel like the only one that might be safe right now is the Horizon one because, Herman Holst and Gorilla have that connection where I don't know that he's going to put one of his babies down. And even then, I think they wouldn't. They would have announced if they were going to cancel that or whatever. So that thing's still kind of going. But back to my original thing there with Sean Layden talking about this time, he's bringing up the whole game budgets can't possibly remain in the triple digit millions that they are right now. He brings up that let's say they get it down with the current level of game development. He said it's gotten higher than it was 10 years ago, which he says it used to be around like 20 million, 50 million. In the Blizzard book, I think when they announced the cancellation of Titan, that was like 80 million. And then we're sitting here talking about Concord today, somewhere between 200 to 400 million. Crazy numbers to think about where we were years ago, right?
Here's the thing, though: if people years ago weren't demanding 4K visuals,
that, and also just you can't make just good games anymore. You have to make great games now. Like a decent game doesn't do anything for the bottom line anymore, right? It has to like hit it out of the park. It has to be the game people are playing. What did we talk about with Prince of Persia last week? Right? A Metroidvania like that, getting 1 million sales should be awesome for that game.
Right. If they spend however God knows how much on it. So,
but Ubisoft is in such a turmoil themselves that apparently that's nothing for them, and they needed to disband the studio. So, can you imagine if Sony's spending the amount that they're spending? how much your game has to be a hit, right? Like, that was the thing that we found out with the Spider-Man 2. The leak was that how much they spent on that game and how much it had to sell for them to just make a profit on it, which was crazy also. Right.
I know we talked about it like last week that Sony said, or a few weeks ago, that Spider-Man 2 isn't going to have any DLC.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, what about spin-off games? Like, they
got to be making 3, right? Like, they got to be going into
that.
3
But I meant like Venom, like have a standalone Venom game, because that was also in like the debug leak of Spider-Man 2. Is like, yo, you can play as Venom in this like all the way through, and he even had like his own moveset, like that was different from the moveset Venom has in the game. You know, the limited moves you already have. So I
wonder if they were hoping the movie would do well, and then that could maybe see if that gets a push for a Venom game. But I just can't imagine right now that they're doing a Venom game.
They can reuse 70% of those assets at least, and it'll be like Miles Morales,
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it brings up a good point, because that's kind of what Sean Layden was pointing at, is that we need to get back to the world where AA exists again.
Yeah.
Because right now we're in that divide where it's like AAA, then you got like the AAA indie games, and then you got indie games. And you don't have a lot of AA. Actually, technically, Metaphor, a lot of Atlas's output you could consider AA, honestly. Like Metaphor, Unicorn Overlord, all that. You could consider all of that AA. But that's very like, I don't know where you consider like Yakuza or whatever, but
that's another good example. Like, Yakuza games use a ton of shit from game.
Oh yeah. How do you think Pirate Yakuza Hawaii whatever exists? Because they reuse half that. So
they'll spruce it up, and we'll have like some new environments, but hey, you'll hit up Hawaii and might be like a little change from like a dragon, but not much. So,
but what do you think about? I thought this statement was actually very clear to part of the problem too. Is that he says we're trying to get more people into playing games. Clearly, people are not playing games, and they're not playing games because they're not interested in what we're giving them. What we're giving them is sequels to the things they weren't interested in the first place. I don't think that's going to get them through the door. Makes sense to me.
Yeah. But also, like Sony is not exactly pumping out new game IP after new game IP, or new game after new game. Like,
unfortunately, the new IP is aimed at the multiplayer live service stuff that they don't want. So people don't want it. So that's the thing when it he also brings up the number can't keep going up, right? The number can't.
That's the same thing I keep making fun about Phil Spencer when he says, like, I want there to be 1 billion gamers. It's like, that's only going to happen when we have 30 billion people on the planet. Like, that'll never happen realistically.
Yeah, costs have to come down. People have to get more realistic. It's understandable, right? As Sony's about to start in 3 days, the PlayStation 5 Pro is about to become available for everybody to buy, whether you got it on pre-order or not. You can already watch unboxing videos on YouTube. The actual specs are out there, 16.7 teraflops, all that stuff. That's supposed to make graphics even better. That's another SKU that developers have to build for and everything, which I'm sure adds costs. And then that's the problem. Technology keeps getting better. I don't know if we're ever going to go far into 8K or not, but even to do, like you said, 4K is no joke. That's a lot of money that you have to spend. And there's a baseline that gamers expect now with frame, have to do 60 frames and have to do all this stuff and ray tracing and all of this. And it's like, can you go backwards and spend less? And would gamers be okay with that? Right? Like, where are gamers willing to accept that a lot of your games are going to go backwards in order for them to continue, right? You're still going to have Call of Duty looking amazing, and you're still going to have the games that can still sell out all the time are still going to keep pushing the graphics. But there's going to be, if you want that series that is kind of teetering on the brink of maybe no longer existing, you might have to be okay with them, like you said, reusing assets. All of those things to keep, or making spinoffs and have the spinoff do well so you can get the next mainline entry or whatever. What I also meant by the number can't keep going up is the number of how much you pay for a game can't keep going up either to offset this. Like, you really think people are going to start paying $100 for a game when other costs of things are going to get expensive or are still expensive?
Yeah.
No. Maybe Grand Theft Auto 6, maybe Call of Duty, maybe things like that are one-time buys and they play the whole time, but people are going to get even more conservative the more you raise the price. So I think he brings up a good point. When will the industry get there? Will they ever get there? I don't know. I feel like, unfortunately, we're going to get a lot more bad still before we get this getting back to a little bit more normalcy, I guess, where we're not having layoffs every week.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Nice. But all right, enough of the bad news for a little bit here. Let's talk about, I guess, good news for Xbox for once, or positive Xbox news.
First time this year, huh?
No, it's not. I feel like we have a little bit, but for the most part, you're right. It feels like we're mostly talking about negative stuff. But first of all, Game Pass, they just revealed their games that are coming out for this first part of November. So starting tomorrow on the 5th for PC Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate, which lets you have PC Game Pass as well. You get StarCraft Remastered and StarCraft 2 Campaign Collection. That's a pretty good get on bringing Activision games over Blizzard games. So that's, if you never played those or you've been wanting to play them and didn't want to buy them or something, definitely those are some great campaigns there.
Yeah,
to go check out. A game I've been waiting on, Metal Slug Tactics, comes out also tomorrow on everything cloud, console, PC. So I'm going to be checking that out this week. I've heard that's actually pretty hard, so we'll see how that goes. The Goat Simulator, a remastered, also comes day and date on Game Pass on the 7th, and then you get Microsoft Flight Simulator on November 19th coming out to everything as well. And then they have a bunch of stuff that's now going to be on standard that used to be on Ultimate only. Go Mecha Ball, Harold Halibut, The Rewinder, and Turnip Boy Robs a Bank, which is actually pretty good.
Finally, Harold Halibut.
Yeah, Harold Halibut it's actually really good. It's just it's literally a walking simulator that looks really cool because it's in stop motion and all that. So if you like those kind of games, I would check it out. But yeah, I'm excited to play Metal Slug Tactics.
I'd be excited to play Flight Simulator, but I don't have Game Pass. So.
Yeah, you can always buy it on PC, I guess.
I just bought Forza Horizon 4, and I find it's funny. I played it like a few days ago.
Yeah,
and I was like, this seems familiar, and it wasn't until like an hour in I was like, I already have this game. It's just not on Steam, and it didn't pull in my save. So.
Oh dang!
It was like, oh, I drove on one road. It's like, you unlocked discovered 524 roads out of 600, and I was like, what? Like, okay.
Like, okay, now I found out. I guess I did.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of Sega Atlas stuff is leaving Game Pass on the 15th. Persona 5 Tactica, Like a Dragon, The Man Who Erased His Name, and Like a Dragon Ishin all leaving the service. So, play those if you still want to. Especially kind of like if you haven't played Infinite Wealth yet, Man Who Erased His Name is kind of like a prequel for that game for the Kiryu side of things. So I guess worth checking out there for sure. The big, I guess, news for Xbox is that Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is breaking records and also kind of emphasizes why Microsoft will not change the way they make Call of Duty. So when I was talking about how it'd be kind of cool if they could siphon off some of these studios that were only working on Call of Duty to start making other things that are in the Activision back catalog or whatever. It's probably not going to happen with Black Ops 6 doing well. They're going to keep all those 15 studios working on Call of Duty because they do alternate between the three main studios, Treyarch, Raven, Infinity Ward, all that.
And Sledgehammer, yeah.
And Sledgehammer, yeah. So remember that Call of Duty came out on October 25th. According to Satya Nadella, we got a big pay raise, by the way, which, was kind of
hey man, he needs to make that money to justify, closing down a lot of studios over this past year.
Right. But he did say that Black Ops 6 was the biggest Call of Duty release ever, setting a record for day one players as well as Game Pass subscriber ads on launch day. And unit sales on PlayStation and Steam were also up 60% year over year, which he says speaks to the strategy of meeting gamers where they are. So do you think this is because Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is actually really good? Do you think it's because Game Pass? Do you think it's both? Like, what do you?
Partially both. I've heard the campaign's actually pretty decent for what it is. Or, the campaigns have sucked for the past few years. So anything's better than nothing. Or, than Vanguard, I guess.
This is a like return to form.
Right.
To the past campaigns that people liked a lot. Which I've enjoyed a lot of what I've played, still kind of trucking through it. I haven't heard one person say a bad thing about it so far.
I've heard some people really like that open world level. Which is good. And multiplayer is basically free or added. Then of course people are gonna play it. You're not. You'll play like a mission or like one round and go, all right, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. I'm good. Yeah.
But sure, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It does help in bringing in the multiplayer part of it too, right? You can have your friends, like you can buy a copy of it and your friends don't have to also buy a copy. They can just have Game Pass, play for that month and then decide. Now that's the thing, right? Is will this keep people subscribed to Game Pass? Because that's the whole point. Now, obviously they get money whether you subscribe one time or you keep subscribing, but they obviously want them to continue to subscribe afterwards. So that's going to be the telling sign. When we get to November 25th, my birthday, coincidentally, are people still going to be subscribed? Right? That subscribed on day one for Call of Duty. That will be the interesting part. The next time they're doing numbers and stuff like that, how much retain was there from Call of Duty being on? And it does help that they have, the thing is, the fall from Call of Duty to Flight Simulator is pretty high. Like most people that like Call of Duty don't also like Flight Simulator. Flight Simulator is pretty niche.
Right.
But they're obviously hoping for Indiana Jones to be a driver when that comes out in December. They're hoping that, maybe they'll stick around for when Avowed comes out in February. Who knows? But the interesting thing is that at least it's doing well. There is a little bit, I think, of a sales cutback that I think they are expecting within the margins because of people going in Game Pass. But obviously I think it'll be more interesting to see what happens with like that monthly sales data that we always talk about. Like, is there going to be a game that knocks Call of Duty off and Call of Duty doesn't come back because people just played it already on Game Pass and they didn't buy it? So we'll see. But good for Xbox to finally get some good news with that. And something that I was super excited about and can't talk about, two things for Nintendo came out of nowhere this week. One of them was that they came out with a music app because, Nintendo, they can't just come out and put their music on Spotify or YouTube Music or nothing. They have to just be like, we're Nintendo, dude. Ain't nobody making a profit off us except for Nintendo. So here's some of our music on an app that you have to be a Nintendo online subscriber to be able to enjoy, which, to be fair, it only costs like $4 a month to do the monthly subscription to like the base version of it to be able to use the app. Let's say somebody gave you a free month of subscribing to Nintendo Switch Online, Mark. Would you be interested in this app? Do you?
No, because that's something called YouTube.
Right, but they're going off and trying to take down more and more.
But
music,
that'll never happen.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as like them taking down emulation websites. It's like,
yeah,
it's like Hydra. For every one you strike down, 2 more will rise.
Yeah.
And I'm also friends with Jens, and he can find any
Right.
damn game soundtrack or I want it. Like, I like Mario, I like Nintendo soundtracks, and I have a few of them, but like, I don't have like a huge pressing need to like, I got to listen to Yoshi's Island soundtrack or like Ice Climbers Stage 4. Give me some of that,
I'll listen to the Zelda stuff every now and then, and obviously Xenoblade, Mario here and there as well. So
see, I like the Mario, I like the early Mario. Like, I would say like Mario 64 soundtrack is what I'd probably listen to. And while I don't have the CD currently, Jens has it for me, so I'll listen to that when I eventually get it.
I do think for the price, like, you can't even get, unless you're a student, you can't even get Spotify for less than like $12 or whatever now, or maybe 10 if you get one of those like where they give you 2 months free for $10 and then it goes up again. Like, so and YouTube costs 15. I have YouTube Premium because I don't have to deal with the ads when you watch stuff on YouTube, and you get YouTube Music free. Prime is $15 as well. So like, if you're gonna talk about getting a music app and you like Nintendo Music a lot, I think it's worth it to subscribe to the Switch Online for $4 a month or whatever, and get it that way. Like you said, there's other ways to get that music also, but if you want to, do it the legal way, then enjoy that app. I'm sure it will be better. It'll also be a better bargain when they put more music on there. Right now, it's kind of in the early stage and doesn't have a whole lot.
Right.
The other announcement, which was much bigger deal for me, Xenoblade Chronicles X is finally coming.
I thought you were going to say that Shadowrun's finally on the Switch Mature expansion app.
That too, like, and Turok 2 is also.
Yeah.
That's the thing everybody was waiting on. But Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition it's happening. Yeah. It's happening not that far away, March 20th.
I sent you that link and you're like, what?
Yeah, I hadn't looked at the gaming news yet, and you're the first thing I saw, and I was like, no.
I think
you're kidding me.
I think you thought I was like fucking with you or something. You're like, what?
Exactly. I thought, because like, this is the one that everybody kept saying, no, they won't do this. They won't make it. There's too much Wii U gamepad in that game. How could they do this or do that? It's too open world for the Switch, which it is a very different game. It's not like the other numbered games.
Right.
It has a lot of. It's more about going on quests, doing side activities, kind of exploring the world kind of thing. It's not about following this big old narrative that tries to take you on like the number games. So that's something that people should be ready for.
If they ported the Wonderful 101 to like PS4 and Switch, they can port anything from the Wii U to a console.
But it's cool because it means that all the Xenoblade games will be in one place. They will carry over to Switch too. So if there is a Xenoblade Chronicles 4 or whatever they're going to call it, you'll get to continue to play those games. It's another, now there's a very, very small number of games that people really want that are still stuck on the Wii U. I don't think Nintendo Land would ever come over.
But yeah, I was gonna say, like, what's left,
What, Star Fox Zero, I think, is like one of the few other ones. Yoshi's Woolly World, I think, is the only other one that's like legit. I saw that people still want, but the rest of the stuff that's there is kind of like what, Devil's Third, like, this is the major like RPG that people wanted to be off the Wii U and now on the Switch, and I'm glad that it's finally here. I'm glad I finally get to experience this game. And I'm glad for all the other Xenoblade fans that maybe started with 3 and you can complete the whole collection here on Switch. That's awesome. I'm so happy.
Now you know what you need to do is, I know that some of the Xenoblade games come with like big dumb collector's edition. You need to start hunting all those down.
This one doesn't though. Not yet.
No, it will.
Maybe, but it's weird that they didn't announce it already, but maybe they're just like kind of trying to think of what to put in a collector's edition for this or whatever. And one last thing, and it's not too bad news because it's not that long you have to wait, but I know there's a lot of people that have been waiting for Path of Exile 2. Last Epoch wasn't the thing that made people forget about Diablo 4, but a lot of people talk about Path of Exile 2 is going to wind up being that action RPG of the year or whatever, and they're just waiting for it to hit. And it was supposed to come out November 15th. Now it is coming to consoles and PC on December 6th. So it's been delayed a little bit. They wanted to be able to keep their promises apparently. And they wanted to make sure the game is right when it comes out, and got to give them credit. Good for them to do that because they're missing a big window, right? Like they're missing the Thanksgiving, Black Friday window where you could have had a lot of families be able to play and kind of get people hyped and all that. And now you're going past that, and now this another game that packs that first week of December. That is going to be huge for games. It's going to go out on a bang there. But yeah, so I feel sucks for the people that are waiting for Path of Exile 2, but ain't that much longer. Like 3 weeks or so past the original.
Plus, like Path of Exile 2 is going to be like an extremely large and complex game. So
no, it's not. It's falling off of the first game, but still, like it has a lot of fans.
No, I mean that's what people want. Like,
right.
Looking at like the skill menu of Path of Exile 1 is like looking into the abyss.
Right. Yeah.
Exile 2 is even going to be more crazy. So
yeah, you're not kidding there. But just to I guess kind of show people what is all coming in that week all together basically is Path of Exile 2, got Marvel Rivals, the Fantasia Neo Dimension also coming, Indiana Jones, The Great Circle, all in that 1 week. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game.
That'll be the actual good game of the bunch.
Exactly. Exactly. The Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver remasters also. Absolutely, like, just let's all shove it into that 1 week in December, I guess. Forget it. Also the Pocket Camp mobile that we talked about too. So yeah, that's gonna be crazy. But looking at what's coming for this week, obviously not as hyped as that week in December right now. But still some decent things coming for this week ahead here. Planet Coaster 2. I'm surprised you're not.
I mean, I kind of like the first one, but I'm just not creative when it comes to those games.
Yeah.
So I like the first one because it had a pretty decent like actual like mission mode or story mode.
Oh, okay.
But like
Makes
them
sense.
just going like, here's a sandbox, go create whatever you want. I just stare at it and go like, no.
Like, yeah, not sure
Yeah.
on that. Also coming the I mentioned Metal Slug Tactics already is hitting as well tomorrow. What is it? That TMNT Splinter Fate game is coming to PC after already being on consoles. The Metro Awakening VR is coming, which that'll be a pretty decent VR game, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Mario and Luigi Brothership is also coming this week, which
That has
has
some
some mixed reviews.
Yeah.
Apparently the performance is not great for Switch on TV, which it really isn't. When you try to play something, especially on a 4K TV, it looks bad. But still, hopefully that's something the Switch 2 fixes. It really cemented my. I think I'm not going to buy another Switch game. If somebody gives me a code to something, I'll do it. But what happened with East 10 and another game I'm playing. But still, not something I want to go out of my way to buy a game for with Switch 2. Who knows when it's going to come out?
Right.
River City Saga 3 Kingdoms, which is River City, but in the Three Kingdoms universe, which is interesting. Maximum Football comes to PC. The Taiko no Taijujin Rhythm Festival comes out that same day on the 7th as well. The Atari 50, the first console war is also coming, which I guess is like an expansion of the first.
Yeah,
Atari
I think it has
50.
a bunch of other games like Coleco or Intellivision games or something.
Yeah. And then Slitterhead, which is the next game from it's like Silent Hill creators, or like a team that was involved with Silent Hill. That's also getting mixed reviews as well. Like really mixed reviews. We got like really low numbers and then some people that like really rated it high. So very interesting that's also so interesting week for games as far as new releases go. So yeah. Anything else we should mention before we get out of here?
Nope.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for watching, listening. However you enjoy the show, let us know. Like it on YouTube, on wherever you watch it at. Follow us on social media. Marc's at Humanity Plague on Blue Sky and X. I'm at WTM Sean on X and Blue Sky. Follow WTM Network wherever you see that. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see y'all next week.
Later.